All right, boys and girls. So continuing on into section 8.1. This is the second part of this section. Um, Today we are going to be learning about how to name polynomials. There are two ways that you are going to be naming a polynomial. It's going to be based on its degree and how many terms it has. So I want you to copy this table down. You can pause the video if it takes you a second to do that. That's fine. Okay, and over here on the left side, we're going to be naming them based on their degree, and then on the right side, we're going to be naming them based on how many terms they have. So I have 5 different example polynomials here. If we just start at the top here, the first example is just a 17. Okay, it doesn't have a variable. All right, so remember the degree from last time was the exponent of the variable on the term. Well, since there is no variable, it is a degree 0. And what we call that is a constant. Okay. In the next example, we have a 3x plus 4. Now, when we're naming it, we only name it based on the highest degree possible. So we have a 3x technically to the first power and a 4. Well, a 4 is a constant. It doesn't have a variable, and so therefore the variable is raised to the 0 power. So the 4 is a constant, but the whole polynomial is based off this x to the first. So x to the first is the highest degree, so it's a degree 1, and we call those linear. We actually spent a ton of time on linear equations in the first semester. Our third example here is 6x squared minus 11x plus 1. And again, this is written in standard form. We go degree 2, degree 1, degree 0. Constant, linear, and then our new one, which is degree 2, and we call those quadratics. Okay, we'll actually spend, chapter 8 is about quadratics, so we are going to be spending a lot of time on these x squared polynomials. Our next example, 12x to the third plus 5, we just have a constant, and our next term, which is a degree 3, we call a degree 3 term a cubic polynomial. And then finally, x to the fourth minus 3x squared plus x, or 3x cubed plus x squared. Highest degree is degree 4, which we call a quartic. The hardest ones to remember there is the difference between a quadratic and a quartic. Most of them make sense. Quartic, okay, think quarter. You have 4. Cubic, think 3. The quadratic, I'll explain why that is when we get into multiplying binomials later. And then linear and constant. Using the same examples, if we rename them based on how many terms they have, well, there's only one term here. Okay, so there's just one term. We call that a monomial. Mono means 1. 3x plus 4. There are 2 terms there. We call that a binomial. Again, think bicycle. Bicycles have 2 wheels, so a binomial has 2 terms. 6x squared minus 11x plus 1. That has 3 terms. That is a trinomial. These ones, I think, make a little bit more sense. They're easier for kids to understand. The last 2 examples are just repeats. You only have 2 terms here, so this would be another example of a binomial. And this last one has 3 terms, so it's another example of a trinomial. So down here, this is all we're doing today. We're just going to name these 4 polynomials. In fact, if you want to take a guess at them first before I do them, go ahead, pause the video and do that. Otherwise, looking at this first one, 6x squared minus 13x plus 1. You need to name it both ways, on the degree and how many terms it has. So the highest degree is a degree 2, so we come up here, that's called a quadratic. And then we look to see how many terms it has. It has 1, 2, 3. So 3 terms is called a trinomial. So this whole polynomial is called a quadratic trinomial. Okay, looking at the next one, 12x to the fourth. The degree is the exponent, so fourth degree is called a quartic. And there is only one term here, just the 12x to the fourth. That's a monomial, so we have a quartic monomial here. Number 3, this one hopefully doesn't throw you for a loop here. It's the highest degree. Now this one's not written in standard form. The highest degree comes here. This is a constant term, but this is a cubic term. So if we're naming the polynomial, we go with the higher one, even though it's written second. So this is a cubic, and then there are 2 terms here. So it is a cubic binomial. And finally, in our last one, we just have the number 325,213,874. That doesn't have a variable, so it's a degree 0, so it's a constant. And then there's only one of them. It's got commas in it, but it's just one term. So it is a constant monomial.